Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today's tutorial is for the lovely little pouch, and this is by Oh So Lovely. This is the first pattern release from the designer Oh So Lovely. Now, Oh So Lovely typically sells fabrics. They are going to continue to do that. They are not stopping that, but they have a lot of pattern ideas that they have been wanting to start releasing and working on. So this is the first pattern in many ideas she has. This pouch comes together really quick. It's a simple pouch and it's fun to sew. If you've noticed, I haven't made a tutorial in a long time, and so this is the first tutorial I have created and released in quite a while. I'll explain more about why I haven't released a tutorial later in my video about how much money I've made on YouTube, not in this video. But for my first tutorial back, I could not think of a better pattern to make. This one is easy. It's great if you've been kind of stuck in a rut, if you've lost your sojo, if you're just feeling a little anxious and don't want to have a lot of mental energy in something, because this comes together so quick and it's so cute. The fabric from this pouch and the one I'm going to sew in this video are both from Oh So Lovely, both the exterior and the interior. And this pouch is completely reversible. There's no problems with turning it inside out if you want to use it that way. So it's a great way if you want to sew up a pouch in different fabrics, so you can use it either way. This pattern was originally designed to be worn at fairs, to use in costume play and things like that. Now, even though I don't go to those things and I don't have that need, I thought of so many different ways to use this pouch. I will be using this pouch for packing purposes, so when I go on my trip, I can put my cords, I can put batteries, I can put my sewing notions, anything I want to fit in this, so I can have it organized in my suitcase. I also thought this would be great for kids, especially little kids like toddlers that can't work a zipper or a snap. You could put their snacks or toys in here and they can reach in easily and get them without having to fool with a zipper, but it still keeps everything neat, especially in the car. Another thing I thought would be cute about this is it would be a great tooth fairy pillow. The parent can put the cash in there, and once they get the pet tooth from under the pillow, they can slip this there with the money or a treat inside, and I thought that would be so cute. It would also be great for Halloween, for costumes of that nature as well. I also thought this would be great for Christmas gifts. I thought, how cute would these be under the tree, just several of these for different people. Not only would they have the small gift inside, but they would also have a reusable pouch. So I love pouches like this. I love that it has no hardware, and I like that it taught me how to make a casing for elastic to kind of have a cute way to finish a project quickly. So let's get started talking about the supplies, and let's go ahead and sew this. We really only need a few minutes to get this sewn up. I only need a few supplies to sew up this pouch. The pattern tells me I need to cut a piece of elastic. It tells me what size and how long to cut the elastic. I went ahead and attached a safety pin on one side and my hemostats to the other. This is how I will feed it through the casing once I have that casing sewn in the pouch. I'm choosing to add a wristlet strap to this pouch. Now in the pattern it tells you how to make one out of a cotton woven, what to cut it to and how to fold it and things like that, but I decided that I'm just going to make mine out of a piece of fold over elastic. So I cut the fold over elastic to the length specified in the pattern, and we will just sew this one up, but of course the pattern tells you how to use cotton woven if you don't want to use fold over elastic. The other thing I need, the last thing I'll need, is the 4 pattern pieces. I'm going to use 2 of the exterior pieces. This is also from Oh So Lovely. So there's 1, 2, here's the lining, again from Oh So Lovely. I am not adding any interfacing. These are left uninterfaced. That's what makes this so quick, so easy. You cut out 4 pieces with the pattern piece given in the pattern. No interfacing, and that's it. First thing I'll do is I'll take one piece, set it right sides up. I will take my other piece, place it right sides down. I'm going to add just a few clips in place so that they stay together while I'm sewing it, just to make sure I keep everything nice and even. When I sew this, I'm going to use this seam allowance skim the pattern. I'm going to start at the top, back stitch, and go all the way around to the other side. I'm leaving this top open, and that's where I'll turn this right sides out. Before I sew the exterior, I'm going to go ahead and get the lining prepped that same way. One piece right sides up, the other piece right sides down directly on top of it, and a few clips just to keep everything nice and neat in place. I'll make sure to back stitch at the top, and whenever I stop with this lining piece, just like the exterior, and I will go ahead and sew both of these at the same time. Now that I have both of those pieces sewn together, I'm left with only two pieces. I go ahead and turn my exterior right sides out, and then I tuck my exterior into the lining. This will have them being right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and nest my seams. That means one seam will go one way, the other will go the opposite way. And I'm going to put a clip there. I'm going to do the other seam the same way. And then if you want, you can go ahead and add some clips around the rest of the perimeter, or you can just start sewing around that top. I'm going to go ahead and just start sewing to save myself the time, but while I'm sewing, I'll make sure to pull those raw edges together. I don't want to sew with it like this or with it like the other way. I want to keep those exactly in line, so I will continue to do that. Now I'm also going to leave an opening in this pouch at the top. I'm going to sew it all around that top edge with the seam allowance, but I'm going to leave an opening right here in the middle. The pattern tells us how big of an opening to leave depending on whether you're using knit or cotton woven. So I'm going to go ahead and do that process right now. I sewed the two pieces together, leaving my opening. I made sure to back stitch the front at the beginning and the end of where I stopped sewing. Now all I'm going to do is reach into my small opening there and push everything right sides out. I have the pouch turned right sides out. I have the lining tucked in. And now what I did is I went ahead and rolled the seams to where they're flat. And I put a few clips there. If you're uncomfortable, you could go ahead and iron those seams flat if you wanted to. But we're not going to be top stitching yet. We're not going to be closing that opening yet. We're leaving it still there. So your opening should still be present. I went ahead and tucked my edges in. They kind of want to go anyway. Now the next step to do is to make the casing for your elastic. The pattern tells us how far down we're going to go. I'm going to use the guide on my machine for that seam allowance. If you do not have a guide on your machine that gives that large of a seam allowance, just measure over from your needle and put a piece of washi tape or masking tape so that you can line up your fabric and keep a straight line while you're sewing around. But what you're going to do is you're going to sew all the way around the perimeter of this bag. That's going to create that bottom line for the casing. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I top stitch all around the perimeter of this pouch with the seam allowance given to make the bottom line of the casing. Now I gotta make that top line so that we can nestle that elastic right in that casing. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and make for sure I know where my opening is, because I'm gonna leave an opening in my top line of my casing so that I can feed that elastic through. It is going to be smartest and easier for you to have it directly here, so you can go right in the opening here and slip your elastic right there. So I want to make for sure that this is where I start and stop that casing. So here's my first line for the bottom of the casing. The pattern tells us how big of a gap, how big of a distance we're going to leave to sew that second line of casing. What I'm going to do is again go over to my machine with my plate, and so I'm going to use that guide. You could draw it out on your material with like a chalk or a friction pen, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I don't feel like I need that. I'm just going to use the seam allowance guide on my machine, but I'm going to make for sure that I start and stop directly where that opening is to leave that gap there. So here is my opening. I'm going to start sewing just a little bit away from that. You can see that here's the opening and there's where my needle's going to start. Here's my first row of stitches. I'm above it. I'm closer to the top to leave that channel for the elastic. Back stitch again here when I start and stop. I left the opening right here with the casing and I sewed the second line. So now I'm ready to go ahead and get my elastic out and feed it through the casing. So I'm going to feed it through with the pin side first. You're just going to slip it in that hole and just kind of feed it all around the channel. My hemostats will keep me from losing it. And then once I get this piece all the way around, I'm just going to pull it out and sew it. If you have a machine that does a zigzag stitch, that would be fine, or probably even better. But since I don't, I'm just going to overlap mine and sew mine that way. I'm pushing and pulling the fabric. I'm pushing the pin and pulling the fabric. And then when I get a little bit slack, I pull the bag while holding on to the pin. This is the way you feed it around. It doesn't take very long. It just have to go a little bit slow, but it's not bad. So now that I fed that through, I have the one end with the safety pin, the other end with the hemostats. I'm going to get my safety pin out of the way and I'm going to go ahead and sew the two edges together. Like I said, if you have a machine that has a zigzag stitch, go ahead and use that. I don't, so I'm just going to use a straight stitch and I'm going to go back and forth a few times. I'll put a clip here and do that. Once I get those two pieces sewn together, I'm going to go ahead and straighten everything out. I'll trim off the extra just a little bit. Okay, and I'm just going to let it go in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close up that casing top stitching first. I'm not closing up the opening at the main top, just the casing for the elastic. So now that it is kind of bunched together, just pull it flat so that you can sew across that perfectly. Make sure you backstitch beginning and ending here. Our pouch is almost done. Now, if you are not adding a wristless strap, just go ahead and close up your opening there. But since I am doing a wristless strap, I'm going to pull out that piece of fold over elastic. I am just going to stitch those two raw edges together. Now what I'm going to do, so simple, so cute, I'm going to feed that raw edge of this elastic down in here. I'm just going to slip it in. I'll use a couple clips to hold that in place. And now what I'll do is I'm going to top stitch all around the top of this bag, the top of this pouch, and also that will close the opening and secure my cute little wristlet strap. So since it's a little bunch, you can see, just make sure you open everything flat so that you can get a really nice stitch all the way across the top. I'm just going to sew that right up against the edge, so just about 1/8 of an inch away all the way across. All I have left to do is trim up my few loose strands of thread from where I started sewing, and it's done, and with a wristlet strap. I can't tell really which one I like better. They are both so cute and so perfect. These come together so quick, so many uses for them. I'm so thankful I got to make this tutorial today. Like I said, this is the first tutorial I've made in a long time. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I'm feeling a lot better about making them. I needed a break, and I'll explain why I took the break and what it means going forward with my channel in another video. But for this pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the pattern in my description and also the Facebook group. A lot is going on in this group with new fabrics, new patterns, and so it really is fun to join and see all the amazing things and creativity that's coming out of this group. Thank you so much once again for watching my tutorial. I hope you make one of these. If you do, please post it. I'd love to see it. Tag me in it, and I hope you guys have a great day sewing and creating.